It's a great honor to be with you today. A word about the council and then a word about our topic, and my colleagues here on the podium and at their seats would love to take your questions. I hope. The council is 20 years old. We were formed with one purpose in mind: to make the United States of America competitive on the world scene. And if I look at where we've gone in the last 20 years, Deborah, I think success. But we were focused at that time on one country, Japan, and one set of threats to our competitiveness. Our topic today shows that's changed greatly. I only have one request for the members of the press that are here today that I understand won't applaud, so I'm prepared for that, is read our report. And if you don't like to read it the next week, get where you can access it, and before you do a piece of work on this subject, read the report then. And I mean that very seriously, because I think after you do that, you'll ask different questions. You'll probe different things. You'll get out of that standard checklist that the council was in before we started this work, and I believe you'll have better reporting and you'll serve your readers better as we go forward. After September 11, after we concluded the world was a more dangerous place, we started a fundamental study. We said if the U.S. is going to have more challenges than some of our other industrial competing partners, how can we find a way to be secure and still be competitive? So we started out with the idea, Jerry and I co-chaired this work, how do you build a better wall? How do you get people through a security line quicker? We didn't find a magical answer. And we certainly didn't find a magical answer that others could not repeat. Then the work Jim and Deloitte's done looked at, fundamentally what is risk, and got a better understanding of risk overall. And what we saw very quickly from that work is that checking the boxes will not work. Just imagine if you had a wall protecting this facility and every guy got their individual piece right, but the total wall fell in. And that's the mistake you make, and that was, quite frankly, how we started out on the subject, is how do you do it piece by piece. We looked at industries including financial services, petroleum, chemicals, electrical power, and pharmaceuticals in great depth. And we studied suppliers to those industries. We studied individual executives, professionals. We looked at environmental and all types of points we could, and we did not walk away with a great aha about how to build that stronger wall. What we did walk away was what today talks about is resilience. And we found that resilience is baked in to the DNA of a company, a university, or a governmental organization. And when you bake that in with fundamentally solid, powerful processes, training of your people, and systems that can respond, you are indeed putting together what you need for whatever kind of security threat we have. And that's why it is about resilience. I can say from my experience inside my own company, DuPont, we've trained every year at least 3 times on some kind of security issue. Not one of those have ever happened. What we find, though, is we build those fundamental skills and we put in processes that do happen and we do apply regularly. So our message today is quite simple. What you should be looking for in an organization are those fundamental processes that serve it every day to help it be more competitive, and as they work, they will indeed deal with security issue. We think as lawmakers take the actions they need to take, it is important they keep that in mind. So it's very difficult to write a law that says have good quality, have reliable systems. but somehow that's what should be encouraged. Let me give you just a bit of data. 93% of companies that lost their data center for 10 days or more were bankrupt within a year. Fundamental strength. It doesn't matter whether you lost your data center from a hurricane, a terrorist attack, or an operating error. They're still the same fundamentals that you must put in place. Let me share just a few examples from DuPont around this fundamental finding that we have. The first step in a resilient organization is understand that they're involved in turbulent change. It's the frog in the boiling water story. You must have systems in place to be sure that you know that there's an issue. Inside DuPont, we have certain designated people that aren't necessarily in the line of fire that look every day at what might be potentially an issue and flag it. Because we find the line operators always think they can manage whatever's coming up. And so you've got to have systems that bring that out. Inside our company, we have reports every day on external events from different perspectives that could impact our company, and a group of people sit down every morning at 8:15 East Coast time and say, which one of those do we have to pay attention to and do something about it? We can't respond to every one, but having those kind of resilient systems inside your organization, again, whether it's a university, a state agency, are very critical. The other thing we found from our work is that what you do in the first 48 hours is critical from a communication standpoint and making sure everybody is on board. Our experience in the process industry is the first 6 hours is the most critical of the 48. The second piece that we found in the most companies that win, and Walmart's one of our examples here, are when there is a hazard, look for the opportunity, because everything has its flip side. And if you do have those resilient systems, there can be opportunities for every company, every university, every government agency is involved. As we have seen companies evolve, I don't want to suggest for a minute that they're doing exactly the same things today as they were 10 years ago. They're just doing them better. They have indeed changed. They have recognized the nature of risk are different. We see a number of companies that now have plans for avian flu. They have processes in place that could deal with that. In our own company, in DuPont, every time I visit a site, and we have 200 major sites in the world, the first thing we do is tour the fence line. Now, I'll assure you, before this decade, I rarely toured the fence line at a site. But sending that message and making sure people know that it's very important, and the examples you'll find in our report are company after company that has made those kind of steps. Let me summarize and then turn to your questions. Our country can be competitive, even in light of potentially more threats for us than others, be they weather threats or terrorist threats. We believe there is a mechanism to do that. Our report describes that. And although it's different details by industry, every industry we studied, it was the same thing. It's fundamentally strong, resilient systems and an operating mechanism that knows how to work effectively when you're in a time of terror. And it's third, sticking with those all the time and don't become complacent when you go for years without incident, and learning. Thank you very much.